Thank you so much. Welcome indeed, Engineer. Of course, you are the former immediate chairman of the Transport and Licensing Board.
Yeah.
You just started, it has been three months so far in the new authority. Yeah. How has it been for you?
It's a good thing for this country because we are looking at where we are going to put all the issues concerning road transport under one roof. Because there before, when I was the chairman of TLB, we're just basically dealing with public transport. So all the other forms of transport were left out. And what I would like to tell you, Makazi, and to the Kenyans is that what informed the formation of this authority is because all the functions that we are looking at, they were already there, but they were being done by different institutions.
Now they are under one roof.
Now they are under one roof. Okay, we have not gotten there yet because you have just started. But now we're in the process of delinking from all those other departments and ministries, thought we can now bring all of them under one roof.
Of course, the question would be, why now? I mean, we've had concerns coming in. Why now?
Why now? It's never too late because we have been pushing for it for a long time because we could see things are not working out because it's an issue of the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing. I can give you a good example is that when we were in the TLB, whatever we were doing, the fellow who is in charge of, let's say, inspection didn't know what we were doing. The police officers on the road knew there was TLB, but there was no link between all those departments. But now, as I say, we could have done it yesterday or earlier, but this is the opportunity time to do that.
Mm-hmm. You know, let me just take you back to your maiden speech as the chairman. There were a bit of intrigues because the Matatu Owners Association, the Matatu Welfare Association were not pleased by the composition of the authority. How are you handling that?
We are looking at it. Of course, now we are looking at transport in wholesome. And of course, the Matatus, the association, the welfare, the owners are major stakeholders as far as transport is concerned. But let's look at it in a more wider way, that even you, Mwakazi, when you're driving your own car or you're walking, you're still a stakeholder in transport business, which means we are talking about so many people who are involved because at any one time, Kenyans are moving. Either they're moving by car, they're riding a motorbike, they're walking, pedestrians, which means all of them are interested parties, are stakeholders in transport. So when it comes to who should be involved or who should be in the board, of course, I'm not the appointing authority, but I think what informed the forming of that particular board is that as much as possible we should bring people together. But then there's a limit of how many people we can bring together. Because if today we say we want to put Matatu Welfare Association, we want to put Matatu owners, there's also drivers who are very key in this industry. They also have an association. We have the Kenya Transport Association, the ones who own trucks, and there are so many in the country. They also have an association for their drivers, the long-distance drivers. So there are so many, the borders, they have come in numbers. They are also stakeholders. But then you cannot put all of these people together. Otherwise, you'll have a board of about 50 people.
But of course, their concern has been, I mean, they play a major role when it comes to transport.
They play a major role.
And for them to be locked out, I mean, how do you intend to implement whatever you have to do?
Maybe what we are still talking. We are not shut the door. That I would like to tell you that we are still talking. We are talking to all those people who are major stakeholders. But maybe in my own thinking is that, remember now in the new constitution, transport is one of the functions which are going to be devolved to the county level. For example, if you talk of Nairobi now, we are looking to go and sit with the governor of Nairobi, because he's going to address the issue of transport in Nairobi. But we are going now to involve people at that particular level. So we are hoping that could give us the opportunity where we can get them involved. Because, okay, the board has been formed, but still it's not cut in stone. There's still possibilities to incorporate. But then, how do you choose who and not the other? Do you look for the truck drivers? Do you look for the owners? Do you look for the borders? But we can still work out something.
So currently, what are you doing to reach out to the Matatu fraternity?
We are very much in touch, because one thing, we are still doing their licensing. Remember, about 2 years ago, it was informed that all people dealing with public transport must be either in companies or circles. So we're in touch, and you are talking, when you talk of circles and companies who are doing public transport, we're talking about 700 of them in the country. So we are in touch with all of them, because at any one time they are coming to us for licensing, and we are in touch with them. So it's just a question of saying, where is the forum where they can come in and contribute? And in my own thinking, I am seeing at the county level, there'll be much more involvement at that level, because we are going to form what we are calling the county transport and safety committees for every county, where it has been said that, you know, the major stakeholders, especially the public transport, will be sitting in that committee, so that they can air out their views, they can contribute and participate in improving transport in this country.
There was a concern that was raised from the Matatu fraternity. Perhaps there is even a plot to phase out Matatus in the country, and that's one concern that has been raised. Is that going to be a key priority?
It's a key thing, and it's still, as I said, we are still looking at it. You remember when that came into force, we said, okay, we have the Matatus, basically talking of the Nissans, you know, the 14-seaters. And there was, of course, a lot of hue and cry, why are you doing that? And eventually we came to an agreement. And we said, okay, what we can do is that the existing ones still remain, but let's, for the time being, now stop the importation of new ones into the country. And then we went on for some time, and they raised their grievances, and they said, look, the uptake of the high-capacity vehicles is not as fast as the way the 40-seaters are being phased out. And we sat with them, discussed, and eventually agreed at least we can do some stopgap measure where they were allowed to import about 1,500 14-seaters. And we gave them 6 months to do that. And as I can tell you, Makazi, now, is that the 6 months we had given them was ending last week. And by that time, although we had given them 1,500, they had only done less than 150. So, although there's that, it feels that we are doing something against, still the economies and their businesses is informing them differently. Because if you're given a chance to bring 1,500, and in the 6 months you have only managed to bring 150, it tells you there's something which is not right. But we are still talking with them. Maybe very soon they're going to come to us and tell us we didn't do this because of A, B, C, D, or what were the hiccups, or we're still waiting to hear from them.
Another concern that was raised was in relation to the appointments. Of course, you're not the appointing authority, but perhaps you could just take us through the criteria that was used to get now the the people who are now in the council.
In fact, the act which formed the authority, that's the National Transport and Safety Authority Act of 2012, stated very clearly how the appointments are going to be done. Of course, the chairman, who I am, is an appointee of the president. So that's done by the president. But in terms of composition of the board, it was clearly set out that the then minister now, who was supposed now to be the cabinet secretary, was given a leeway to select 4 members of the board, and then 2 from the stakeholders in the transport industry. And what we got in the board currently, we have 1 board member representing the dealers, the vehicle dealers. Then the other person came through KEPSA, the private sector alliance. So that, I think the problem was choosing from all these so many stakeholders whom do we pick? And therefore, I think what informed the minister to appoint somebody through KEPSA. And we got somebody from there who is also a member of the board. Apart from that, all the others are just alternate directors from the relevant ministries. For example, we have an alternate director from the Ministry of Finance, from Inspector General, and also from Attorney General, and the Ministry of Transport. And that forms the board.
There's a concern here.
Yeah.
Why do we need you?
As the authority.
Absolutely.
Now that's good, because it was not just formed for the sake of it. As I said earlier, the authority has a mandate. And broadly, I can say three. One thing, we are supposed to do advisory role to the cabinet secretary and, of course, to the government on issues relating to road transport. The other thing we are supposed to do is to regulate the road transport industry. So we are also a regulator. And thirdly, we are also, after coming up with all those policies, we are supposed also to implement them. So that's the core mandate of the authority. Yeah.
Because there's another concern here in terms of if you're talking about implementing, and we still have the same drivers, are you doing some sort of retraining of the drivers?
We are working, for the time being, we are kind of working behind the curtains because we are not so visible. Because there's a process which is a bit difficult and is more technical, that linking those functions. For example, how do I delink the register of motor vehicles from KRA? Because that's where he is domiciled. All the activities of registration and licensing, all that is done at a KRA. But you have to link that particular function to come to the authority. And the same motor vehicle inspection, all those have to be brought under one roof. But when you talk of, for example, the drivers, in the Act it says that all public transport drivers have to undergo another test all over again. And in fact, as far as driving, training, and testing is concerned, remember that was with the Kenya Police Service. That has also come to us. So we are going to look into, we are already looking into the curriculum, that when you want to go to a driving school, do you expect, is there a curriculum? At the moment, there's nothing. You go to maybe a room smaller than this one, where you are taught how to drive the car on a table and that.
And that's not really what happens in reality.
Exactly. So we are looking to that will come with a proper curriculum. Then we have to recognize this is an institution for training. And we are looking at, we can even involve the universities, because most of people who are in the driver training are basically students.